Hey, my name is Jeff Anthony. I'm here today to talk to you guys about overcoming childhood traumas and just how to live with those things as an adult and overcome them and move forward with your life. I live here in Costa Rica, and just to let you know a little bit about myself, I had a difficult, you know, childhood and had a challenging life. And now I'm just here to share with people what I've done to deal with some of those things. So the first thing that I found for me to be effective was that I had to remove myself from the situation that I was in. I found that I tried to forgive my past or my parents, and it just didn't work out because you keep falling back into the same situation with your parents or with the current situation. So I found that removing myself from that situation tended to alleviate a lot of the stress of the situation. It allowed me to move outside of myself in order to find the answers within myself. So first of all, by removing myself from that situation, I started to go within myself instead of looking for the answers on the outside, in the outside world or outside of myself. And so the first thing I found was that I had built up a emotional armor that I was wearing, and that it was making me very angry, that I was angry, and that it was keeping my anger trapped inside with me. And it was very effective at keeping people out of my life and me not having to share with them anything about my personal life or upbringing. But then it was also keeping myself out of going inside of my heart and opening my heart up to forgiveness, true forgiveness, and moving forward with my life and feeling confident about who I was and my future, and being able to just move forward and create and write my own story instead of living the story that I was led to believe was true. So by taking off that armor of anger that got thicker and more durable over time and age, the older I got, I decided to disarm it and take the journey inside instead of looking for it on the outside. Because I tend to find that the further that you journey in search of answers, the further you go from yourself, which is where the answers truly are. So I decided to look inside of myself, and I found that I didn't like a lot of the things that I saw inside of myself, because I was angry at other people and blamed other people and judged other people for things that I had inside of me that I hadn't dealt with. So by doing that and dealing with those things, I found that many times I see many of the same situations unfolding in front of me that have in the past bothered me or had effects on me emotionally or mentally, and they don't bother me anymore because I realize I've dealt with those things, and that there is really no good or bad, and it just is. And those things, everyone's on their own journey, and everyone's figuring their things out for themselves, and everyone is right where they need to be. So it becomes easier to forgive the people and stay in your consciousness and move forward happily, and with the knowledge that eventually they're going to come to their own conclusions as well. So what happens when you start doing that and really searching inside of your heart and opening up your heart, you start to realize that you have to love yourself. And due to many outside things that happened to me, I became very ill and was told that I would be in a wheelchair within 5 years of being diagnosed with the disease, and then that I'd be bedridden within 10 years, and this was in 1995 of October, that I was diagnosed with this degenerative muscle disease. And I am not in a wheelchair, and I'm not bedridden. I'm sitting here right now talking to you guys. So what happened, though, was all the closing off of my heart and closing off of my emotions and anger over my past and my current situation then had the disease took a very aggressive nature and was moving very rapidly through all the different muscle systems of my body, and then I was told it was worse than they thought, and that it was going to get worse, and that it was going to be not a good situation. And so I made me more angry and closed off. And when I finally took off the armor and realized that I had to go inside and love myself for who I was right now, with all the things that I was dealing with, and at that time I was recovering from breaking my pelvis, and was in a bed and really couldn't get up, and it made me think about the diagnosis and prognosis I'd been given on the other situation, and then the doctor who did the surgery to put my pelvis back together knew of my prior diagnosis and told me that was it. I was going to be done. I'm not going to be walking again. I'm not going to, I would never recover from this, he told me. So that made me start, wasn't the first time I'd heard that, but it made me start to really look inside of myself for the answers, because I had searched for them in outside things before, and medicine, doctors, alternative things, acupuncture, all these things that are effective and do work, but I hadn't done the necessary first steps of taking off my armor and stepping inside of my heart and learning how to love myself for where I was and what I was right then, right now, in this moment. And when I did start to do that, I started to slow down my life and realize that I'd been running at full speed in a car flying down a freeway and missing all the road signs that I needed to read that were trying to tell me where I needed to go. And when I finally slowed down and realized, hey, I think I need to see this, or I think I may have needed to get off right there and see what's down there, when I finally did slow down and see those signs and start reading the signs and taking the direction, a lot of times I was lost because it was a new road that I'd never been down. But somebody that I would stop and ask on that road, on that path, would point me in the direction I needed to go. And many times the people who were pointing me in the direction were the people that needed to come across my path because they taught me something about myself or about alternative ways of thinking of things or ways of treating things as well. And those things started to work, and I'm just wanting to share with everyone the story of my life and how I've overcome many of those things. So by loving myself and forgiving myself first with love and finding clarity in that, and finding that I was more able to forgive my past and my parents and all the things that had accumulated in me over time. It was easier to let go of all that when you realize that you're not even living consciously, and that most likely the people that were doing the things to you weren't living consciously, and they were just running a program that they were taught by someone else before them, and it's not their fault that they didn't awaken to the program and rewrite it for themselves. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm trying to show people how to do, that you can erase the program and write a new one, and it becomes easier to forgive people when you realize that it's absolutely no one's fault and there is no right and wrong, and that you're just running a program of a story that's not really who you are. And when you realize that, and you start realizing the essence of who you really are, and that you're just observing a program unfolding in front of you, or a story, or a, movie, whatever you want to call it, unfolding in front of you, then you start to realize that the only thing that you are doing is you are bringing awareness to what is going on in the story of Jeff, for example, in my case. And I'm only observing how Jeff is going to respond to the situations that arise in Jeff's physical existence, and then observe them and try to experience what Jeff is able to manifest in his life based on the experiences and the challenges that come through his existence or his programming. And basically, with loving yourself comes all the other things. Comes the forgiveness, comes the space, comes the awareness, comes the mystery, comes the magic of life. And you start to realize how you really can, and how you always have been, manifesting your own destiny. You just never realized it because you were running subconsciously somebody else's destiny for you instead of running your own. And even though you'd read a book or went to a seminar or saw a guru or thought that you knew what was going on and had awakened, the truth is you probably fell back to sleep and started running someone else's program. And when you realize that and you truly stay grounded and awake and connected to your higher self, you'll start to realize that your higher self is trying to communicate with you and tell you about your true mission and your true program that you're writing for yourself, and how you can manifest your own destiny and your own life, and you can do anything, and you can do all the things that everyone told you that were impossible, because they are possible. And when you start to do that, you start to love the heart of everyone else around you, because you realize that they have exactly the same thing inside of them that you have inside of you. So you don't go about changing yourself on the outside, because you'll only fail, and then you'll feel guilt, and you'll feel, you'll just beat yourself up and attack yourself over and over again, and it's just ineffective. You can't forgive when you don't know how, because then you find yourself reliving it and talking about it and feeling angry, even though you've thought you've forgiven. So when you truly go inside, you feel the change from the inside. And it begins to change your mind, and it begins to change your spirit, and then that ultimately begins to change your body. So I'll get more into some of those other aspects later. This is just my first opening, and I'll go into more detail, but I just wanted to share with you all that the journey is within. The further you run from yourself in whatever vein that is, drugs, alcohol, action sports, gambling, men, women, whatever the case is, coffee, anything, you're only distancing yourself from you. And all those things are only driving more distance between you and the answers, because you hold them all inside of yourself. So I'll be hopefully helping you guys to understand that, and to show you how to get connected with yourself and get deep inside and have that deep relationship of love with yourself, which will then radiate out of your heart to everyone, and everyone will see it inside of you, believe me. They'll see it, they will know, and it'll be very apparent. So anyway, good sharing with you all. I hope to share many more in the future, and much love to everyone.